Good day everyone, it is Bridget here, currently inside my kitchen doing a little bit of cooking. Thought I would share a really quick cooking class with you. Yesterday lunchtime, I made the boys in the house an omelette, and as I'm making them an omelette, I'm thinking this is such a cool technique. Like, everyone should know how to make an omelette. It's like knowing how to roast chicken, right? It's one of the basics in life that we should all know how to do. So I'm making this omelette yesterday and having a really good time making this omelette because it was a real French traditional way that I learnt when I was a very, very young chef. And then after I fed the boys their omelettes, I said, do you guys know how to make an omelette? And both of them were like, nah, I don't think I do. And I thought, well, that's really important that we maybe do a really quick, healthy omelette cooking class. Now, please say hello if you're joining us on this live video. If you've got any questions as I'm going along, please feel free to let me know as well if you've got any questions at all, and we'll get into this omelette class because literally this is like one of the first things you learn to cook when you're a budding young chef apprentice at chef school, and they teach you guys how to make an omelette because it's one of those foundation recipes. You know, if you can make an omelette, you can literally feed yourself breakfast, lunch and dinner, because omelettes are not just for breakfast. That's the thing, right? Omelettes are so satisfying. You do a good omelette, you can also have that for dinner as well. So it's one of those recipes that has legs, you know, it's got a longevity about it. And as a young chef, you know, we do definitely focus on the very simple things in the kitchen, and then we move up. So for me, this is like a foundation recipe. Like, seriously, this is like making or knowing how to roast a chicken. You know, if you know how to roast a chicken, you're winning at life. You know, it's such a good start. If you already know how to roast a chicken, you're already winning. If you haven't quite got there, oh my gosh, I can hear it beeping. Guess what I've got on the oven? One second. All right. Oh. Okay. I already had one cooking. I decided to do this class kind of backwards, and I did a omelette before I actually started doing this live because I thought it would be really cool for you guys to see the after effect. It smells good in the kitchen too. I'm going to bring you down to the bench because you need to see this. We need to not rush, but we definitely need to be quite quick with this. So I'm just going to show you that's the omelette just out of the oven, and you can look at that. Can you guys see how easy that's coming off there? How good is that, right? You could actually, and don't worry, I will get into the recipe. You could, I've just got, this one is just a plain omelette, but there's nothing stopping you from topping it with some rocket and some fresh herbs and stuff. That's gonna look, gonna look pretty cool. So I'm just gonna take that out. I just want to show you what it's gonna look like once you learn how to make that, because it is so fabulous. Grab yourself a little plate, and then that literally just goes down onto the plate. Would you look at that? Isn't that great? I'm going to teach you guys how to make that. This is the whole point of today's lesson, is we are going to learn together, or we're going to do this together to make this amazing fluffy omelette. And like, you just put like a little you know, some vegetables on the side of that, or if you just want to have it on its own, or you can put some meat and stuff in the middle of it. That is fabulous. I'm going to teach you how to make that little gorgeous omelette. It's actually really easy. There is some technique involved, but pretty much when it comes to cooking, as you guys know, there's always this little technique. There's always these little tricks, and I'm going to share the tricks with you guys today on how to make a really healthy omelette. I'm going to give you also a dairy-free version as well, so you know how to make a dairy-free omelette, and you also need to know how to make just a normal with dairy omelette. I just seen your question, Miley. I can't answer it now because we're right in the middle of an omelette class, so I can't even read it. Sorry, it's a little bit you're right, it is off topic, but it's just a little bit lengthy for me to turn around and talk about this when we're doing omelettes. So apologies. I'm going to just do omelettes today. If you've got any questions on omelettes, I'm happy to answer that. Okay, so first thing we need to do is we need to consider what we're going to be cooking our omelette in, and there is a little bit of importance to that. So I cook my omelette literally in an omelette pan. I know this looks like a dirty old omelette, but I have had this pan pretty much for as long as I've been cooking. I've got a series of these. This is what we use in kitchens. This is literally an omelette pan. One thing you'll notice about my pan is it has a metal handle because I actually finish my omelettes off in the oven, which is quite traditional as well. So you don't have to finish it off in the oven, but if you want that real big lovely fluff that comes out of your omelette, then you're going to need to have your omelette pan. So I've got an omelette pan or a small frying pan will do, but as long as it's got a metal handle, because then you know it can go into the oven. If it's got a plastic handle, you have to do everything on the stove top. So that's the first thing. Consider your pan. Once you've considered your pan, everything else is actually pretty simple. I currently have my oven on high at 215 degrees Celsius, which is around about 420 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is quite hot. And I'll put the metal rack at the top of the oven because the heat rises and we want to give this omelette a real quick burst in the oven so it cooks really quickly, and then we get that lovely big rise and we get that color from it as well. So I've got my oven on at 215 degrees Celsius, 420 degrees Fahrenheit. I've got my omelette pan, so I'm pretty happy with that. All we need to do now is make the mix. I'm going to bring you guys down to the bench. There is not a lot that happens down on the bench here today, but it's just, once again, I was saying it's all about this little technique. Once you guys know the technique, then you totally know what's going on here. So I'm going to bring you guys down. Okay, I can hear my voice reverberating somewhere else. Someone's got me live in the house, which is a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird, whoever that was. That's a bit crazy. All right, so let's make our mix. So I've got my bowl here. I'm going to put on my omelette pan, turning it on. I'm going to have a bit of noise from the silly machine now, by the way. Turning it on and just getting it hot. I'm putting it onto a medium heat for that to heat up while I do what happens in here. This all happens really quickly, so I would definitely suggest that you have your ingredients sort of ready for you as well. So we're going to do a 3-egg omelette. If you can do a 2-egg omelette, all that means it's going to be smaller. Completely up to you, but we're going to do a 3-egg omelette today. This is actually a 3-egg omelette pan, so it's perfect, absolutely perfect. But there's nothing stopping you from just using 2 eggs in your omelette. That's absolutely fine as well. I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of salt, goes in there. Got some natural sea salt flakes, which are going to go into my mix. And then just using a fork, give it a light whisk. And now it is completely up to you. If you want to do a dairy-free option, you could use coconut milk, or you could use almond milk, or you could use hemp milk. That's for dairy free. If you wanted to just do a normal omelette, then you'd use cow's milk. I'm using an almond milk, unsweetened. And for every egg, you add a tablespoon of milk, whatever your choice of milk is, to your eggs. Once again, give it a nice little whisk. I can see a little haze coming off my pan now, which is good, which is what I want. So if you're going for the dairy-free option of your omelette, then you might use something like an olive oil spray very, very lightly. You don't need to spray much. Goes in there. Or if you're okay with dairy, then you're probably adding in about a teaspoon, or half a teaspoon, sorry, of butter. Give that a bit of a swirl. Like I said, this all happens really, really quickly. And because there's quite a lot of butter in, as you can see, I'm actually going to tip some of it out. I don't need all that butter. So whisking continuously. I've got a haze coming off my pan and whisking continuously. I'm now going to pour the mix into my omelette pan. See, I'm still whisking, and then my fork goes in, and literally with one hand I'm going to shake my pan, and with the other one I'm using the fork to distribute and to disrupt the cooking of the omelette on the bottom of the pan. This is a really important part. It may seem almost counterintuitive that you do this, but trust me, this is what you need to do to get a nice fluffy omelette. So I'm going to turn that heat up just one small, so it's just over medium now. Remember, we've already got salt in there, so we don't have to add any salt, but we can certainly add some pepper to it. And at this stage, you could add anything you want. Maybe you go in with ham, maybe you go in with spinach, maybe you go in with some cheese, which is quite fabulous, or not. It's completely up to you. If you wanted to go dairy-free again, you're going to go for something like savory yeast. Tastes like cheese, but it's completely dairy-free. It's almost got a little parmesan sort of a hit to it. So once it's been on there for literally 30 seconds or so, just like that, it's just begin to start to set around the edges, which is how I know it's perfect. We're going to send it over to the oven. So I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to go over to the oven. And I'm going to set the timer. You can still hear me? All right. So what I did there is I put it in the oven. Remember the shelf is on the top of the oven. I put that omelette into the oven and I set the timer for 5 minutes. So 5 minutes at 215 degrees Celsius, which is about 420 degrees Fahrenheit. That omelette is now going to cook in the oven. Like I said, you don't have to put it in the oven. If you wanted to complete it here, what I would suggest that you do is, once it's here on your cooktop and you've got your egg mixture in there, and maybe you've got your ham or your salmon or your spinach or whatever it is that you want to go into your omelette, you then turn the heat down to about medium low, so halfway between low and medium low, and then you put a lid on top of your omelette, and you create like an oven environment in there. So it doesn't have to go into the oven. You can actually create one on your cooktop with your frying pan and a bit of a lid. Now I've just had a question. What was the dairy-free option for the cheese? The dairy-free option for the cheese is called savory yeast flakes, also known as nutritional yeast. Now this stuff is really awesome. It is made from yeast, but it's not the sort of yeast that you make bread from, by the way. So it's a different type. It's a different type of yeast, and this is one that you can sprinkle on your salads. If you want a bit of a parmesan hit, you can sprinkle onto your omelettes. When I make a dairy-free lasagna, this is what I put on top of my dairy-free lasagna, because it tastes a little bit like parmesan cheese. And for people who are dairy-free or who are vegan, they do really like this nutritional yeast. You can buy this in the supermarkets in Australia. I'm not sure about New Zealand, but I know definitely you can buy this in Woolies in Australia. Sorry, like I said, don't know about New Zealand, but you can also buy this in the health food store as well. They always have nutritional yeast because it's really, really popular, and it's really, really good for us. So it is a high, there is a high level of B vitamins in here, which is really good, and there's also protein, and there's a bit of fiber. So this is really good for us. It's really, really low in calories as well, but it tastes really cool. Actually, my grandfather, funny story, but my grandfather on my mum's side, this is my grandpappy, he used to have this yeast on toast. He called it Brewfax, and I think that may have been, this is in New Zealand, I think that may have been a brand, but he actually used to eat yeast sprinkled on toast with butter. And I always remember him, that was his breakfast almost every single morning. He'd have one piece of toast with Marmite, and then have another piece of toast with nutritional yeast, or Brewfax as he called it, savory yeast flakes. So that is your dairy-free option. Remember, your other dairy-free option, instead of putting butter into your frying pan, you can put oil, and I just use a really light spray of olive oil, because you're getting such a small amount of oil, If you were to pour the oil in, you tend to add so much more, so I use an olive oil spray. But if you wanted to go completely oil free, here's another really cool trick for you. What I do is I put my frying pan on here like normal, but then I lay a piece of baking paper into the frying pan, so I don't have to add any oil whatsoever. So there's a couple of options for you guys, and I'm just seeing from Anne saying that it's sold in New Zealand, in New World, as Bragg Nutritional Yeast Seasoning. Brewfax, you remember Brewfax, Anne? That is so cool. That was my grandpappy. He was always about the Brewfax on toast. It was so wonderful. And I just remember the smell, and even just like literally just opening up this bag and having a really good whiff, it just reminds me of him. It really, really does, because he was the Brewfax guy on toast, which is really cool. And if you haven't tried it, you could definitely try this yeast. I'm pretty sure Brewfax was a brand. You can try yeast on one of my really awesome gluten-free breads. That would be amazing too. Toast it off and then put some yeast on that. That'll be a really nice treat. And because it's Friday here in Sydney and New Zealand as well, so we're going into the weekend tomorrow, I thought an omelette recipe is really cool. Just in case you're at home and you're thinking about what you're going to be having for breakfast tomorrow, an omelette's a really good idea. So I'm going to get my plate ready, because my omelette should be beeping at me soon. So I'm going to grab myself up a plate. And what plate do I have today? Oh, it's a Crown Lynn willow pattern. Look at that. Ooh, love it. Okay, I'm going to bring you guys down again to my bench, because let's make a little bit of a side salad to go with our omelette. Side salad is easy. So easy. Let's start with just a little bit of mixed lettuce. Can go on there. And this is just going to make such a wonderful lunch for someone who's sitting at his computer watching me cooking lunch. I wonder who that could be. I'm going to add a few herbs as well, because you guys know I absolutely adore herbs. So I'm putting basil. You could put mint. Oh, it's beeping. You could put mint or something delicious like that. I'm over to the oven. I can hear it beeping. Stay there. Oh my gosh. Yay. I gotta close that door. Ta-da! Look at our omelette. Isn't it cool? Isn't it groovy? That is just awesome. All right. Easy to take out once you've got one of these pans. Look at this. Look how simple it is to take out of the pan. It's very, very easy. Just give it a bit of a scrape. I'm using a metal spatula. And it's a flexible one, so it's really easy for me to just run it down and then flop that omelette out. Look at that! Isn't that awesome? Isn't that good, right? Look how fluffy it is. And you get that really good fluff, seriously, when you're using your oven. That's how you get that gorgeous fluff. So let's finish off our salad because this needs to be absolutely devoured. This is going to be wonderful. So we've got our fresh herbs, our fresh mixed lettuce. We have got some of our, I'm going to add a few more herbs because I love them. Some mint goes on there, just like that. And then, what else do you think I'm going to put on it today? Of course I'm going to put some of my pickled onions. Of course I am. Pickled onions, why not, right? So clean utensil goes into the jar, just like that. Sprinkle over some pickled onions. Oh, it's beautiful. The smell now is cheese, pickled onions, and egg omelette. It's pretty awesome. So we've got our onions on there. Let's add some of our juice because the juice of the pickled onions is the best salad dressing in the world. I'm not being biased. It is literally the only thing I use to dress my salads now. It's just so wonderful. And of course it's a prebiotic, so it's really good for our gut health as well. You could add tomatoes in there, you could add cucumbers in there, you could add pretty much anything you want into that little salad. But there is your omelette. All you need to do now is smash that. Eat that omelette. I'm looking at someone who's sitting on his desk at his computer. He's not paying attention. I might eat this one myself. No, oh, I heard noise. So that is how you make a very awesome, very easy, very delicious omelette. Remember, you can use 2 eggs or 3 eggs, completely up to you. You use 1 tablespoon of your choice of milk, whether it be non-dairy or normal milk, goes into it, whisk it up into the pan, give it a good whisk as it's going in, then it goes into the oven for 5 minutes, set at 215 degrees, and you get that lovely little fluffy, gorgeous omelette just for you. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this little video. It's lunchtime in my kitchen. Alright, we'll talk to you soon. Bye!